science. The science of ageism. Right?
I know, but I'm teaching it more Rod Stewart like.
One now?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm just quiet now. And then people come in. Saladin, peace. Yeah. No, you can take that one though. Just updating some things. Peace, serious knowledge. I don't. I'm still here. I'm gonna be back at a law school in Mecca simultaneously doing this April 8th. Okay, so once April 8th comes, then I'll be back at the school. While we begin, I'm writing some things. Let me know how you're seeing everything. What are you studying, or what are you researching? What are you on right now? Peace, Trail. Quatis, peace, Quatis. I feel like Quatis, you sent me something and I totally missed out on it. I have been very, very busy. And a lot of that's also, that's also why I have, not just COVID, adjusting to that, going back to the school, but at the same time, because of COVID, I've been locked into a lot of different projects. So I've been trying to, I went through scheduling. I went through telling all of you to put everything you can, overload your work, get everything you can done and stuff. And hey, that's exactly what I'm doing. So what happens is that I've never been so busy. You know what I mean? Incredibly busy. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing. So because of all these projects that I've gotten into and the opportunities, now going back to a law school, which takes a little bit of a trip because I'm coming from Savior's Island. For those that don't know, I'm coming from Savior's Island to a law school. I have to actually plan and prepare since I haven't done it regularly like I often did. You know what I mean? So once I get that in tow, I should be ready once April comes and willingly better weather. We had good weather today, but that won't be consistent. March is never consistent. Only our work in March is consistent. Why is you? Peace. By the way, a lot of times in the course of the class when I go through since I teach weekly, I'm not always going in my mind. I'm not always planning to build on just the day's degree. You know what I mean? I'm planning to build about the entire week until I next talk to you. So it would be the 11th all the way through the 17th, and then back to see you on the 18th. So any thoughts you have or any builds that you have that you question, or if you ever see like you had this build in the last 7 days on a day's mathematics or a particular degree that you're not sure about if it's strong, it's okay. I think it's perfect, to pitch that. To pitch that to me. So you've been overloaded as well, Quad. That's good though, right? Yeah. Oh, that's peace. Okay, Quatis. Yeah, that's peace. I like when you guys are busy. You know what I mean? Word 60, you said today's math is knowledge. Knowledge, all being born of wisdom. An informed man is wise. I'm waiting for the rest of that. An informed man is wise. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Ain't that it? Interesting. Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Earhart. That name sounds familiar. Very insightful. That's very similar to the concepts of Sebi. Sebi was very much on the need to eliminate mucus. Now, I don't prescribe to the concept that a person that doesn't have any mucus at all ever is healthy, because producing mucus is more of the symptom. It's more the fighting of it. It's the constant mucus in the diet. You know what I mean? Meaning that you're in peril all the time. You know what I mean? An identification of peril, though. So the mucus is like a system to aid. I don't think that Sebi and I don't know about this. I don't think Sebi ever meant it like that. We never would have mucus again. I think people really misinterpret that concept as well. That's not really what he was saying. But interesting concept. I never heard of that book. One thing I haven't searched for actually in a while is books on health and stuff. I've not collected in a while. You know. Hmm. Interesting. I'm looking at his books now. Very interesting. Very interesting. Glad you put me onto that, God. I'm definitely gonna collect some of those books and do an analysis. Absolutely. Informed awareness, says Quatis. It is informed awareness. Knowledge, informed awareness. Interesting. Okay. Oh, you guys are really succinct today. Right? It is informed because it is the study of self, a self-awareness which leads to further contemplation on how to make the best use of my efforts. That's tough stuff, Cortez. You know? And when you honor that, though, that's the ultimate word is bond, right? And that's the 11th degree and the 1 to 14. Quartis, for example, I've been reading up on mitochondrial DNA and uncovering the detail of proof that I am the original man. That's peace. You know, definitely take good notes on that because that'll lead to a personal plus lesson, if not something, on a broader level that can be published. Or that you would like to share. It is an interesting study. We're all African because it highlights migration and the creation of another being around 60,000 years ago. It seems to relate to what the lessons say when speaking of. Saladin, you said peace, awareness, or light, when to put to proper use, should add to one's wisdom or your personal toolbox. Today's math. Okay, see it. Continuing with what he said, the book seems to relate what the lessons say when speaking of the grafted man and mentions a different being made from the original man in Europe and Mideast, consisting of a very genetic code. They were called Neanderthals. I haven't finished the book, so perhaps a further explanation with more details and detailed answers are given. Yeah, definitely go through the whole book. Okay, yeah, definitely. There's a lot more in that book. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's a very interesting book. It's very a lot of good stuff in there. These are good builds here. All right. Where am I? Okay. 793rd piece. R.P. Reese piece. You said knowledge is symbolic to the black man who is the foundation of his family. Knowledge is also insight. Wisdom is wise choices. How I see it as the foundation ahead of my family today is okay. I'm waiting for that rest there. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Okay, why is this thing not moving? Allah will manifest Allah. Peace. All right, let me rewind to get that better again. How I see it, RPB says, as the foundation ahead of my family today is about the insights that I can build on and make my word bond. 11th degree of the 114. If you not heard that your word is bond, not only is my word bond to others, but to myself, what I think I am. Absolutely. Absolutely. The greatest practice is to yourself. All right. Today is to know the whom, what, where, when, where, and how to observe the foundation, so you can be prepared to aid and bring about relief at any moment. I see it. I see it. Consistently misinterpret and peace of God for seeking a practical application, doing announce that knowledge. Okay. I see you. 793rd. Okay. Okay. Just fixing some of the notes here, some of the things I want to share. Um, so it's an important succession of degrees. You know what I mean? When the 11th through the 17th. These are the pedagogical degrees in the 1 to 40. You know, crucial degrees at the end of the 1 to 14. So they have a lot of potency. Indeed, will you sit up at home and wait for that mystery guy to bring you food? Emphatically no. All right, so in the beginning, I like to spend some time. I always like to spend some time. I like to have you answer, see where you're at, what questions you have. You developed any questions? That way I could get an idea of where you all are coming from, what I should share, what I should focus on. Of course, though, for me, the teens lessons in the 1 to 40 have a lot of application. You know what I mean? A lot of importance. You know, R.P. Reese, you said a little deeper into my bill when I said the black man is the foundation, and when I said about the insight, wisdom being wise or other than wise decisions. Okay. All right. Now, um, I see it. Why did you refer to the second degree in the 1 to 14? I just want to hear your answer on that. Why did you put that there as the reference for that? I mean, I could guess. You know what I mean? I could guess, but I'm sure it won't be as exact as your explanation. Okay. Oh, don't worry. They don't have to put that like button now. LT State, peace, God, peace. Last week you were saying that it's well known that it should be 9980, not 9080. I was wondering why that correcting has not been made, especially since other corrections have been made. That's such a good question. You know what I mean? I've always heard answers. I talk to a lot of elders. I won't say their names and stuff like that because I don't want to make it look like they didn't take it within their power, which I think they could have, or their decision. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let me tell you something. A lot of the parts of 120, and it sounds crazy, but this concept of it being near correct, though, is really very harped on as something to focus on. You know, a lot of the elders were very concerned with the idea that we need not worry about those lessons being exact. They only need to be near correct. It is us analyzing them and using them and coming to an understanding that would make them useful and right and exact, you know? And so it just became that, you know? Yeah, but it's interesting. You know what I mean? It's like now that I think about it, you know what I mean, as I'm older, you know what I mean? And I asked them when I was younger, and now that I'm older, you know, with this knowledge, over 20 years, it's almost like I have the reason. It, you know, like why didn't I and elders, you know, brothers of my age group didn't do that? You know, it's kind of the same way. Um, in my own personal mind, I'm really not focused on fixing, you know. I think that the more that we have tried to fix things, the more that we may have exposed that we're just trying to make teaching a little easier and we could make it more difficult. You know what I mean? And that's why, you know, right? But there's no like, you know, reason, you know. I mean, that was such a like a non-answer, like that I just gave. You know what I mean? I gave like the crazy non-answer. Well, no, well, I don't know, because the 20 years I've had, we didn't do shit, and so I understand that they didn't do shit in the year 20 plus years they had it. Didn't they had it? And when I asked them, you know what I mean? History repeats itself. It's like, but yeah, that's probably it. You know what I mean? Part of my getting up though, I've just lost my yeah, who knows? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's that way. You know, we used to always ask why they changed it though, and I'm gonna say that I don't remember because what they would tell me, because probably the answers weren't good enough for me. You know, or like it was just an okay dismissal. You know, like it was okay to, I guess dismiss it. Yeah, you know. With some of the elders, I felt also. I always felt with certain elders that um they kind of like the idea of us figuring that out ourselves. You know what I mean? Figuring out the error. Sometimes teachers like to see errors some places and see a student identify the error because it means that their eyes are sharp. You know what I mean? And typos, certainly not typos. Grammatical errors, slight mathematical errors, those are seen as like the way the text was, or we're going to leave it like that, you know? Because remember, for years, a lot of brothers had they didn't have square inches of the planet Earth, and the answer of the inches of the planet Earth, which is impossible, was actually calculated incorrectly. You know what I mean? See if I, the 13th degree in the actual facts. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to find the old calculation. I even made a little plus lesson about how the 13th degree has the wrong calculations, for those that are on that, you know what I mean? But the point was is that I I corrected this with Firstborn Prince to try to make it official like around 1999, 2000, late 99 or probably no, early 2000, so like, you know, and I remember asking Firstborn Prince, how could this be wrong so long? He was like, that the father said that we get it right. Us, the next generation. You know what I mean? You know, and I think certain things just are just left the way they are so that they could be footnoted and that they could be remain in oral teaching. You know what I mean? Something that is really only valid, in that oral teaching tradition. There's all types of reasons though. I mean, I'm getting super psychological with it, and that deeper psychology that goes along with pedagogy. But we talk about pedagogy, the way we teach a student, but there's a psychology within the teacher of how they validate the worth of a student's acumen, the worth of students' questions. You know what I mean? So, who knows? Right? Let me see some of these comments as I ramble on here about the non-answer. Why didn't we do shit? You know, it's a good question for Thursday, and the word is Bond Day. R.P. Reese, you said because Musa had a choice, he was half original because he did righteousness and trick knowledge. His choices were other than wise because he had a hard time civilizing devil. Why? Because 17th degree in the 1 to 40. Hmm. Well, here's the thing, right? Did Musa have a choice? The truth is that he could have educated the right way and they still could have made the wrong decisions. You see, because teaching the wrong people the certain right lessons also empowers them. So, you know, Musa himself may not have done that devilishment, right? I'm trying to challenge you because this is something that we always get taught. You know what I mean? But one thing about the lessons, I want you to look at the lessons and not look at them so much in such an epic nature of like good and evil and things like that, because that's how we get misconstrued, and the only way we can equalize that, we start reading the lesson so epically. Musa was evil and he dealt with teaching, righteousness and evil, like, just think about that for a minute though. You know what I mean? Someone had sent Musa the title of a teacher, which means teachers, so generations of teachers, probably a select amount of teachers, right? To go up into the Caucasus Mountains to find these savages, and then you're going to teach them trick knowledge, right? Does the degree, right? Now, the wisdom degree doesn't say that. It's really the culture degree, right? 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 And we call it devilishment because it's not right and exact. But it wouldn't have worked if you taught it to them and say it was devilishment, right? How does a teacher go teach devilishment, right? And teachers seeing it more that they're teaching them survival skills, how to build homes for themselves. In other words, interact with the society, offer something of worth to be allowed to engage in the society. And then that trick knowledge, right? Telling lies, stealing, right? Ways to get by because it's the only way you can get by. See? Remember, he has to convince him that way. And when he sent him up there, it's the only thing that he could teach them. They cannot survive on their own. They could not make a civilization in the Caucasus Mountains. You know, we read about indigenous populations that have made even I'm forgetting who. This is in 1491, the book 1491. I forget who, what the name of it. I think it was the Inca who made civilizations on basically what would be steep mountains, like something even worse than the Bronx. You know what I mean? Like as far as steepness. You know what I mean? And the thing is, when you go up there to teach them, it's a warring thing. You're teaching them how to live, but then you realize that they cannot live that certain way. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you had to make that decision. You know what I mean? Right? It's very intriguing. The reason I'm saying all this, though, is I want you to humanize some of these degrees. You know what I mean? Not look at them like epic decrees. Because what happens is then we equalize ourselves as these epic, you know, and now to build on who God is ourselves, we kind of amplify it too, though. Like we give it this epic, you know, cartoon nature. You know what I mean? We wouldn't teach telling lies, how to master others and everything like that, because we were able to master ourselves. But how do you teach a people to survive if they don't have the ability to master themselves? What would you teach them? Just think about that for a minute, because these problems still occur. What do you teach a people in a society that cannot handle themselves? Right? This is a question that has been forced upon us, where now we are those people, and people with power, people with money, people with status, right? They decide to do what with our people? You know what I mean? They decide to do and make policy on us, because we are those people now, right? Forced to survive, unable to to survive on our own, right? What would be the right choice? Okay. Just trying to take these degrees and look at them in all angles, because we live in this modern world, though, and that's what these degrees are to be applied for, right? What would be the way? The knowledge for one is not always the knowledge suitable for another. See? And then the wisdom that comes out, though, is always selective. It is a select combination of those two types of knowledge, right? Whether you're at 10% or you're at 5%, right? There's always a filter in the mouthpiece. 793rd, you said, it's something we or someone must obviously teach properly, with all these people falling blind just because others regurgitating someone else's perceived rhetoric, which is wisdom knowledge. True. True. Right. Let's see. This thing jumps so fast. Now I go backwards because I missed some. Oh, right. Make them useful, right? Okay. Wise you asked what kind of experiments or high explosives would cause earthquakes. Oh, the same that people use now. Technology is not linear. You know what I mean? Right. All right. Uh, doesn't say that Musa was God. Allah will manifest, right? Definitely, definitely. Mm-hmm. RP Reese, I'm catching up to you. Yes, you're right. And I said the same thing. All right. Seeing the back and forth here. LT, you said, I feel that. I was wondering if it was because we can make some sense by using mathematics that are there when we use our supreme mathematical breakdown. Most likely, you know. Dumar used to have builds for both, you know. He really broke down the lessons to the very last compound, you know. And that's in my head because I was hearing my philosophy recently. Earlier today. All right. Oh, absolutely, RP Reese. Yes, you would have the corrected actual facts, you know what I mean? Because um we were all there. Why King, all of us were there. So yeah, we would have gotten all that. We were there. So you would have gotten the correct one, right? But wasn't always correct. Okay. Right, right. They're forgotten trick knowledge, right? Right. Now remember they weren't effective with their trick knowledge. You know what I mean? So here's the thing, right? It's not just knowledge like they learned it like a manual. It's their nature, you know what I mean? And their nature becomes the knowledge of a person, like what they are, their character. You know what I mean? So that's why, you know. So when he's teaching them what they are, but he's teaching them to be much more effective with it. So uh, it was exposed very early, their nature. You know what I mean? Right? And the reason what was forgotten was because the way that they were behaving and the ultimate goals that they had were not efficient. They were being exposed quickly and obviously exiled. But they were, you know, they were up there a long time, so they forgot everything. You know what I mean? Even how to comport themselves in a terrible way. They were totally became what? A beastly way of life. So that's a level of savagery that we can't even comprehend now. Like it the degree is meant to be taken literally on that aspect where they really are beasts, you know? They've lost humanity at all. Like, you know, you said I don't see it as good. I see him as half because he taught children how to build a house, right? Right, right. And remember, the building of the house doesn't mean that, you know, he taught them all how to be carpenters. You know what I mean? Build a home means literally that, though. They taught them how to engage in society, offer something. You know, it's really kind of like a metaphor. It's not like they cut him all back with carpentry tools and stuff. Knowledge on 120. Thank you. Appreciate that. T, you said so. Then that is one of those degrees that when building with gods, you would quote it that way, but build and show that you know better. Well, you're always showing what your understanding is of something. You know what I mean? And not every degree has a you know a straight up read. You know what I mean? Right? That's what understanding is for. Jarrell, you said if he was pointing out that the trick knowledge that Yakuti taught them was wrong, yet they just used that correction to get over on original people. Mm. That forgotten trick knowledge was their natural way of life. You see? And they had not used it effectively. They had used it wildly. So he taught them how to comport themselves. Share some, not others, right? How to engage themselves. Cunning. You know, and if you look at European society though, look at how they've been able to mask themselves. You know? You know, it's so interesting, right? The the build degree in the 1 to 14 talks about them keeping us from social equality, but they actually have built their societies to keep everyone, including their own citizens, from seeing their social, how filthy they are in all their affairs, right? Right? It's nice that we have Meghan Markles to infiltrate and expose them in all their affairs. Yeah, that's wild. Let's see. Saladin, didn't the Pueblo Indians build mountains and cliffs as well? I don't know off the head. I know that there were indigenous people that literally lived on mountain peaks, you know what I mean? And very steep, um, you know, really, really steep inclines, So even the exile into the Caucasus Mountains, something like that wouldn't destroy the original people. You know what I mean? However, the original people weren't the ones exiled to Caucasus Mountains. Knowledge Allah, the teens in the 1 to 40. I started that concept and then I lost track of that. The teens, the 10 through the, we get out of the 20th degree. They define the roles that we have, in society that are most crucial. You know what I mean? Right? The crucial roles that we have. You know what I mean? The reality of who we are, the acceptance of it, right? And then it gets to actually who we are, 85, right? 85, 10, 5, 10, 5, civilized person, civilization, right? But these teens in the 140, they expose that search of who we are, right? The 10th degree. They expose how that search was hampered, right? The 11th degree, the 12th degree, right? The recognition that search is even more recognition that the search is fruitless, right? For a mystery. The 13th degree, right? It's very crucial degrees. Very crucial degrees is what I was saying. Right? RPVs in the okay, and they spent the next couple thousand years practicing on themselves before using it on us. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Well, yeah, yeah. I didn't really catch everything. You know what I mean? I got some recaps from asking people that saw it and stuff, but I didn't. I didn't really follow the whole Meghan Markle thing. You know what I mean? You know, I told you last week I'm more interested in watching animals documentaries. Infinite Satisfaction. Wow, that doesn't sound like a righteous name. No, it sounds like something else, right? Let's mess with you. I never seen that name in here. So it'd be funny, right? Like the internet is funny because if I was teaching my class, though, nobody could just barge in and say, "I just found out." You have to, you know, I have to do the one. Let all your people know this vaccine is gonna. Like you just, like somebody just open a door in my classroom and say, "Hey, all the people know this vaccine is considered experimental drug and science when they be covered by your insurance even 20 years from now." Peace. And then, did you exit the room? Infinite satisfaction. I don't know. Right? Yeah, And when I get intense, it's because I'm trying to make this space valid for all of the students that are really trying to learn here. You know what I mean? And that was like spammy. And we know that the oh yeah, no, don't take offense, to it, infinite satisfaction, but you know that if you walked into a room that way, which is where I would typically be teaching this in the law school in Mecca, you wouldn't barge into this classroom and just, hey, what I mean, there's some people that would probably, right, but they're the ones that get kicked out, what I mean. But yeah, look, people are going to take the vaccine stuff. The science of a vaccine is technically not what the argument is, but like everything that we've ever been sold, it's always the ingredients that they actually use to things, you know what I mean? And all the vaccines have problems because of that, you know what I mean? It's such big money now too, you know what I mean? Such big money. But yes, you know what I mean? I can't stop adults from taking it, you know what I mean? I'm not here to do that, you know what I mean? If you have to me, if you have a healthy, I'll write it down so that way you can look at it a little bit. Suspension, if you have a healthy suspension of belief in the oppressor, you would naturally think that this came out of nowhere with very little details. It comes out of one of the most corrupt administrations that this country's ever had, and that's saying something, right? Because technically the whole thing is corrupt. You know what I mean? And even they'll tell you that it's new. You know what I mean? It is new. You know? Right? So, so Syria said, indeed, God, they're playing with pins again. I see knowledge allow you correcting but brings, not what brings. Who said what brings? Did anybody say that here? I didn't read an incorrect quote in here. Rome Fetty, you said animals have a spiritual as well. That's a loaded word. You know what I mean? But English is a poor word for it. You know, when we talk about the nature of us, we could talk about our humanity. There is no equivalent word for animals, but they have a humanity too. And humanity is such a terrible word because it doesn't apply to animals, but they have that same nature, So I certainly see that. You know what I mean? All right. RPV, so wise Prince Allah. I always try to remember everybody's name, pardon self in advance. And I always say pardon self. If you want to be called your righteous name and stuff like that on the online thing, I may forget sometimes because I keep seeing the same username, so it's hard to follow. And those that know me, I remember faces easier than I remember people's righteous names. You know what I mean? But yes, Rome, everything is good. Everything is going all right. Well, what I meant, Rome, is that like the word spiritual is a very loaded word. People like us with the knowledge would take it mysterious. People that are okay with it are usually the ones that can't really define it. You know what I mean? But just like Buddhism, they have a Buddha nature. You know what I mean? You know? Yeah. You know? Yes. Unfortunately, I missed them though because I had a very busy weekend. I couldn't see why I came that weekend. You know, but look forward to seeing him again. That's interesting, Rome. Very interesting. Allah will manifest. Am I missing? Uh, I feel like I'm missing where you're coming from. I'm reading your comments and I'm not really getting where you're going with them. Pardon self, what you can say, change that. Who's your enlightener? If they put spirit in the eyes of slavery, I'm not really sure like where you're getting at. Am I missing something here? I don't. You know. Yeah, it's a pre I love it. I'm really into. I get into that thing where I like to watch nature documentaries. So that's what I've been on. Among other things, I watch a lot of programs too. You know what I mean? Watch a lot of programs. You know what I mean? My daughter has me onto anime, so I try to keep up with that. Try to keep up with new movies. I started watching United States versus Billie Holiday, but I had some trouble with it. I love Billie Holiday. I'm a huge fan, a huge collector, but I don't like the way they do biopics of artists. You know, I feel like they spend more time exposing the harshness, the controversy of their lives, um, the paid six elements of the artist, whether they sum them up honorably or not, whether they sum up to be something of grandeur or in massive demise and destruction. That's what they center on, and I don't understand why these musical biopics, especially, can't just follow the formula of Ray. You know that Jamie Foxx did, because that movie showed his demise, showed his paid six stuff. But it also was able to show his musical genius, and the first half hour of what I was watching of the Billie Holiday movie, it assumes it doesn't show it. you know so the viewer is going to assume that she's a star, but not that she's a musical genius. Like Billie Holiday isn't just the biggest star of that time. She's musical genius. She's pretty much the root to every soul singer after her, every jazz singer after her, everyone that sings really, you know is rooted in some kind of way back to that. Oh, I roasted infinite satisfaction. No, I didn't mean to. I mean, it's it's not really a righteous name, though. I hope that I never get. Imagine you go up to you're trying to build with the earth, and you go, peace, I'm infinite satisfaction. You're gonna get slapped in the face. You know what I mean? And you say, I got dimples though. I can't have a name like that. They go, hey, peace. My name's Infinite Satisfaction. That's crazy. It's crazy. So I don't know what I was making fun of. The damn well can't be his righteous name. Infinite Satisfaction. You know what I mean? Oh shit. Hey. Unless that was a burner account for my brother Infinite Mind. Nah, Infinite Mind. No, I know you ain't doing that. I know you ain't doing that. No, it's all good though. It's all good. I just wasn't, you know what I mean? All right. Okay. All right. I'm reading your answer, Rome, about what you think spiritual is. Spiritual is the inner voice that tells you don't touch the hot stove. I'm gonna get burnt. Don't cross the streets when cars are coming. That deep inner voice. Yeah, but a lot of people do touch the stove, and a lot of us cross the street. Like there are deeper connections. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it being genetic. You know what I mean? A lot of it being untapped. The mind is vast. You know what I mean? The information is generational. It's in there for hundreds and hundreds of years of information are locked in here. And sometimes we could, make that mysterious. You know what I mean? When we do something that uncovers it or exposes it. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is, like, if you don't want to sound mysterious, be very careful with the word spiritual. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. I agree, 793. They're definitely more pick than bio due to their creative license. Aretha movie coming out with Hudson versus the 4-part TV series. Really, I didn't even know Hudson was doing an Aretha thing. You know, wonder how that would be. Right. Wise Prince, right? You kind of went where I was going with that. Yeah, see, the thing is, right, Rome, you said they didn't pay close attention to the spirit, not that they don't have it. You you've already assumed that everybody has it though. That doesn't, like, as a scientific inquiry though, how do we prove that everyone has some type of spirit? And see, you're talking about something outside of ourselves, but it is inside of ourselves. Like you're basically giving us a mystery that is inside of us though. Something that is untapped and mysterious and outside of ourselves, and yet it resides inside of ourselves. You see? And that's why spiritual is a very tricky word, because that's what happens with it. Now we're talking about something that is inside of us, but it behaves like it's not part of us, but it's inside of us. You know what I mean? And for that though, like what you just described is basically the what you just described is the Transformers though. Like that's Optimus Prime. That's the well, what's the thing? When he opens up and he takes it out, that's the Matrix. You know what I mean? And you got to tap into the Matrix. That's not really, you know what I mean? All right. That's peace. That's peace. I'm glad people stuck around. And Raja's trying out his new righteous names, though. I don't know that they're going over so well. I will accept. I told you I will accept Fat Son as a kung fu name, though. Oh damn, 783. That was Queens Boulevard. Oh man, that's tough. Yeah, Raja, Rome answered it above, and that's why I was saying I was answering now. I think it's tricky, you know. All right. So infinite satisfaction. If you have a righteous name, though, if you deal with this nonsense, you know, you gotta let me know where you're at, though. You know, either an email, you know, after the class, you want to email me, get some more information. This class comes with a curriculum, so don't think that just because you tune in and watch it that you're really in the class. You know what I mean? You know, I'm directing you to more research and pushing you along. But those who really contact me post class are really the students. All animals was not taught when to hibernate, when to attack. So it's an inner power. That's actually not true, Rome. That's actually not true. And I'm saying that because I'm literally seeing documentaries. Cheetahs, for example, they're taught how to hunt. They don't know how to hunt. You know what I mean? Animals don't they're not taught, they hibernate and they are taught to hibernate. However, here's the thing, right? What you're talking about spiritual as that example of what spiritual is really about genetic code. You know what I'm saying? About the information that they have and information passing generation to generation, which means because what we can then say is that animals do have a mind of some sort. You know what I mean? And that's really what we can say more profoundly than just dismiss it as spiritual, you know? And then every time animals do something that is mindful, we don't say they have some type of mind. What we say is that they have some spirituality. And see, that's a dismissal, you know, of to me, the grandeur of animals, you know what I mean? And and that's what I mean though. So like we want to build with it scientific because we actually could bring more insight to what we look at the animals because animals are intelligent. I mean, even fish have been seen to use tools, you know what I mean? Which means that they had to devise tools. There are fish, I forget the name of the fish, that actually grabs rocks and breaks, you know, like a shell, some type of shellfish or some crab, or eats it. I forget what it was, you know what I mean? I saw it in a documentary, read it in a book. Good book. What's the name of the book? I don't want to get it wrong though. I hate saying it. I don't like saying it not right and exact because yeah, What a Fish Knows. This great book. Great book. Loved it. You're welcome, Rome. Yeah, yeah. You know? Cause see, that's the thing, right? That's why, like, what's more important about the gods, you know, we could be like stiff and everything and say, don't do this, don't do that, and that sounds religious, that sounds this. Instead of really thinking about the reasons why we wouldn't say certain words. And that's what's more important. It's not that spiritual is a bad word. It's that sometimes spiritual, like a lot of religion, instead of saying, why does it sound religious? What makes things religious is that it stops you from expanding the conversation. And sometimes when you say something is spiritual, it stops us from trying to analyze the profoundness of you know what I mean? of what we're trying to define here. You know what I mean? Definitely. What you're welcome. You know. Allah will manifest again. You've got me bugged out. Chattel slavery. Who went through that? I don't. You know, Negroes, chattel slavery. I'm not really sure. Knowledge Allah, it's the crucial roles in society. Got you. What do you mean by that knowledge? Please elaborate. I don't know what that means that you're saying to me. The crucial roles, and they've got me. What does that mean? How am I gotten? Let me know. I didn't know I was gotten. Am I might. It might just be that I am smitten. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know what you're saying here. I don't. You know. Who was my first student? Um. My first student was literally I can't remember, but my first student to take through 120 technically was my twin brother. You know, he's not a 5%er, you know, but I took him through 120. You know, one of my very first greatest students though is my brother Infinite Mind. You know, he was my student. LT Station with the dope rewind sound wave. The Decepticon opened its cassette deck compartment in the Raven flat. Yes. Yeah. Why is you said? Do you fast every time to give someone knowledge? What do I fast or do I make them fast? I definitely teach them to fast. You know what I mean? However, with the way I have students, I can't always prove. I can't always guarantee. Like they can't prove that they fasted to me because I don't. I'm not living with all the students I teach because I'm teaching a lot of schools. So people are coming from all the boroughs and not just my neighborhood. Most 5%ers are teaching people in their neighborhood. You know, I've never lived in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I lived in Washington Heights. I lived in Piedmont, Bronx, Saviors Island, Medina. I mean, I've lived briefly, very briefly in Harlem, but you know what I'm saying? So like I tell them to fast, you know what I mean? Like I'm being real. So you know, like I tell all the students I teach, I tell them about fasting. I tell them that they should fast, but I can't really always show and prove that they fast. Like and how could you show and prove to someone that you fasted? You know what I mean? So there were other markers I used to test their discipline. You know what I mean? Now, if you're saying, do I fast every time to give someone knowledge? I don't. I'd be fat. I'd die. I've given so many people the knowledge. So imagine if I fasted when I gave somebody the knowledge, I'd be dead. I tell you, I'd be one hungry brother. I give too many people the knowledge, though, you know? Right? Shit, if I skipped a meal every time I gave somebody knowledge, though, I'd be a lot lighter. No, I can't do that. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was your answer, but I'm answering only because it's funny, you know what I mean? If I answer. So I don't know if that's good. Yeah, but Allah will manifest a lot. I am totally confused at what you're saying, so I'm gonna keep it going. Okay, maybe you could elaborate for me, you know? Because the way you're commenting, it sounds like a Jeopardy board. Like, I'll take child slavery for 200. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, you know what I mean? Like I'm supposed to make the question out of whatever statements you're having. You know, it's not Jeopardy. Rome said, "How do you visualize the word Negro?" Wow, today's not. Wow, everybody is off like in their own worlds here. How do you visualize the word Negro for words or energy? What's the difference between Negro and nigger? Oh man, it's how you use it though. You know, I'm a writer, right? And I'm a speaker, I'm a poet. Every word can be used. You know what I'm saying? Every word can be used. You know what I mean? Every word can have power. Every word can be used for emphasis, and every word can be overused. You know, so it depends. You know what I mean? It depends. I don't know if that was to me either. 793rd, you said I peep videos weekly in Russia of cheetah, puma, eagle, owl, tigers, all domestically raised due to worldwide predations, and none know how to hunt or kill naturally. Tiger may maim by accident killed. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, because they're trying to keep these. For what I learned about that, these populations, they have to nurture a lot of these wild animals and then try to find them, bring them back. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, I think are the only types of zoos that there should be. A revolving zoo. Um, I hate going to the Central Park Zoo and seeing my spirit animal. So you talk about animals, and I just love that animal, so I just call it that. But it just calls to me. Um, I love its nature. I love everything about it. The snow leopard, but I've seen a snow leopard, and it looks in the summer, and it just doesn't belong there. Even though it was a wonderful opportunity to see it up close. I would trade that and not see it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want it to be sacrificed. And Raj just said, to Allah will manifest. What are you talking about? And none of us know. So go figure. Okay, Allah will. You made some sense there. Knowledge being born, representing the whole. Who is the first student? Yourself. Yeah, for being technical, but I'm sure that's not what was meant in the question, right? To me, if it was asked to me. Word 60, I'm assuming that question is to me. Did you have any color student? What does that process look like? I've had many white students, you know what I mean? I don't call them colored, you know what I mean? I try to respect their humanity, you know what I mean? If they're trying to get the knowledge, I try to test their humanity. I'm not in the classroom calling them devil, you know what I mean? White devil, you know what I mean? I teach the white man that is learning from me that they are the greatest rebel if they are learning, because they rebel against the nature that is epigenetically woven into their structure, the DNA structure, And a lot of the spirituality and a lot of the things animals know and the so-called instinct, a lot of that is epigenetics, You know. And so when I teach any white person, and the white people that to me are my brothers, that I'm cool with, like fam, like that, they're real peace with me. They know the original man is God. They know their role to be a righteous man. So if they go further with me in these teachings, then they have to understand that that they have to do their own research to show and prove that these are their origins, and what can they do to combat this. You know what I mean? And also, as any good teacher, I think, to let them know that they can. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people can't really teach a white person because in their mind, they're more comfortable not with the idea that God should be there, the one to build, but they're more comfortable with, like, it doesn't matter if I, the true and living God, actually get to build, but more important, that we know that the white man can't do it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I've seen it, like, especially people that don't know about this knowledge of self and that are conscious of woke. And I've been through this where they're completely challenged by a white person that has this knowledge of self. Instead of having a high respect for them because they're so far and few between, you know what I mean? And have to go through a scrutiny and a way of showing, proving that it's on, a pressure that is a lot different. I didn't say it was harder. I don't think so. There's nothing harder than being, but it is very unique. You know what I mean? So I have, and that I think that what I learned in the beginning with students, and many of them, I've had students fail all the time and just not learn anymore with me. And that's the majority. If the more people you teach, though, your percentage sucks. You know what I mean? Only a few will really get this, though. And if you're a good teacher, they're all civilized. If whether they get the knowledge of self and embrace it, that's different, because that's not really, that's something you can learn to perfect, to make it understood. But whether you can get it at all of them is different. You know what I mean? But I think in the beginning of my teaching, I taught I taught fairly, so I taught a lot of information, and they were actually overloaded by the information. And so I found that to be a thing with a lot of the white students I taught, that they were very easily overloaded with information, and this knowledge, like in general. It was very burdening, so I try to do it. I really focus on teaching, not just them, but students, to be civilized, and they make their own decisions of how far they will go. Yeah. And yes, wise. I have a twin. I have an identical twin. Yeah, he lives in Los Angeles, and he's an actor. He's been in a couple of Lifetime movies, among many other things. Written plays, produced plays, staged them, acted in them. You know what I mean? Great screenwriter. He's just a real talent. Uh, 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 to me, a stellar, dramatic and comedic talent, though. And they be front, huh? They be front. They don't always take brothers that look like me. We're kind of in the middle. If you ever watch television and movies, though, you don't see many. You don't see any light-skinned Latino brothers in roles. You know what I mean? And they certainly ain't making things with Puerto Ricans. So, the slim pickings out there. You know what I mean? What does Negro mean in Spanish? It just means black. Negro means black. That's all. It's pretty simple. You know what I mean? Oh, you said, do I fast? When I started this knowledge, why came fast with me? And when I was teaching my first potential student, I fast with him. Yeah. I hope I answered the question, though, because I fast, but I don't fast with the student, though. I don't know. Look how many, I have too many students. I'm not going to fast with them. You know what I mean? How would I be able to do that? You know what I mean? So that's crazy. I wouldn't be able to do that. You know what I mean? And again, they come from all over, so I wouldn't be able to enforce their fasting or do it with them. You know what I'm saying? So, you know. How often should one fast for 3 days? It depends on your body. It depends if, if you feel like you're overweight, if you feel like you've eaten the wrong foods and you have overloaded, then that's something to do. I don't care I train too hard. I can't do three-day fast regularly. You know what I mean? And I almost never do it. I don't really do 3-day fast. You know what I mean? I spot my fast and I fast. You know what I mean? I go from intermittent fasting to 36-hour fast whenever I need them and however I do, because what's more important is getting my training in and then fasting as I feel the fasting. But I spent years detoxing. So in my first couple of years with the knowledge, I actually fasted for 36 hours, 3 separate days of the week, which is actually more than a 3-day fast. And I did that for like a whole year, and I was skinny as hell. You know what I mean? So it's probably about 20 pounds lighter than I am now. You know what I mean? But that's what I felt. Okay, infinite. That's an interesting animal fact. Indeed, LT. I find myself talking about the day's math. Almost unassuming. It's almost spiritual. All right. If you're taking a student through 120 and stuff, and they're with you daily and stuff, especially if they're younger, though, it's a great exercise to do the 3-day fast, and it should be done if the student's with you. You know what I mean? Right? Cocolos. That's a derogatory word. You know what I mean? That means pretty much like niggas. You know what I mean? Puerto Ricans use that word. I don't know of other Latinos that use that word, though. But it's definitely a negative word, though. You don't want to be called that. Anybody that do not go through the rite of passage, right exact, is form, trichonons, fasting, understanding is very important. Regenerative. Yes. What's more important is not just the fasting in 3 days to start with, but also having it regularly in your diet. You know what I mean? Knowing when to fast, how you should fast. You know what I mean? Yeah, everyone that gets knowledge is taught that they should go through the 3-day fast. I didn't do the 3-day fast when I first got the knowledge, though. I did it like when I was ready, and then after that, like I really learned. Like I didn't do it immediately. I did it once, and then I screwed it up. A whole day fast, and I had real trouble. And then I tried it again when I thought I was ready, and I could really gauge what I was going to do those 3 days. And that from Friday through Sunday, because I took the days, the weekend to do it, to hopefully have it done be easier. Then I achieved it. You know what I mean? But a lot of times that's the way a student will prove themselves. I keep it real with you. I didn't need to prove myself by doing any kind of fasting. You know what I mean? I was already on point. But that was something that in my mind was to be done because I wanted that level of health. You know what I mean? See, the thing is, when I got knowledge, I didn't care about anybody's rituals. I didn't care about traditions. I didn't care about what anybody was doing. Everything I was doing was going to be something that was worthwhile. And just like the knowledge I was learning, knowledge. So I wasn't going to do any type of ritual just to be allowed to do something. I was only going to learn stuff that's going to be useful. And I was taught why fasting was useful. I was taught that was how it was done, but that's not why I did it. You know what I mean? I did it because I knew it was useful. You know what I mean? And I also trusted my teacher that said that it would be useful. Because in those times I couldn't like just Google something to find the use of that. Okay, let me get through these. All right, you said to the class, so I'm going to skip you, Saladin. There are some books about that, but it's very hard to authenticate both Muhammad and Jesus. Many people, including gods, will say animals have no mind. For you to admit what you know about animals, regards to whom, what, and say it and or show it. People say animals are not intelligent or have no intelligence, just instinct. I, like you, admit the truth regardless when I know to show it. Yeah, that's kind of incorrect. Yeah, I don't. I think that they have, you know, what do we say is a level of mind, though? A level of humanity, levels of known compassion, deep rooted memory, the ability to sacrifice for themselves or others. Even ants have been shown to sacrifice for those ants that are not even part of their, hive, or hill. So we have to expand these definitions. You know what I'm saying? You know, we know we have the supreme mind. That doesn't mean that everybody else is stupid. And just moving along. That's peace. That's peace. Okay. Indeed, indeed. Do Rome, I'm assuming that question is for me. Do I have time to be an enlightener in these days and time? Many of the people on this class sessions are I'm their enlightener. You know what I mean? So I do have the time, you know. So, it depends. Yeah, I do take the time, you know. But these students have to be stellar. They have to be on fucking point. Nah, they gotta be wanting to learn, you know what I mean? Right? If someone's already, let's say, a vegan, they would still have to do it. That's still exercise. And you could be a shit vegan now because there's so many processed vegan foods, you know? That's so bad. Yeah, that really is the only reason, yeah. To catch my brother on a Lifetime movie. What God's mean Allah world manifest? Just that we are writing our history now. Okay. So everything from 1964 on though is Allah world manifest. That's it. We're teaching the world this knowledge. And however the world develops after is because of what we are doing now. That's it. Real simple. Yeah, I don't think I could do a talking fast though. Yeah, I don't think I could do a talking fast. People ask me too much shit. And I got daughters though. There's no way I could not talk to them, you know? Hmm. I don't know where you're at, Rome, but I do I do I do teach people the martial arts though. I will be setting up a type of system where I could teach what I know um with a real defined as a class to in a paying system. You know what I mean? Yeah. LT, you said everyone is in their own world here. It's good though that folk size going to make it knowledgeable. Oh yeah, yeah. It's very random today. I have no problem with that though. I have no problem with that. Supreme Freedom, you said you do the how to eat to live one meal a day, but I'm just wondering how often I should 3-day fast. 3-day fasts are intense though. You should try them for like once a month. You know what I mean? Try that. You know what I mean? And then gauge yourself. You know what I mean? You know, if you have a way to take your weight, these new scales, they give you your body fat and all that, so you can really test. You know, your muscle structure, all that. You know what I mean? Your muscle percentage. Get some statistics for yourself. Right? You can't do it too much because it depends. What do you want to do? What are you going to do with your body? Like, what type of training? What type of exercise? How athletic are you going to get yourself to be? Then fasting becomes something you have to actually really think about when you're going to do it right. You know, and that's why if you're a regular athlete, the intermittent fasting can really help. You know what I mean? And people say listen to their body, though. It's really like you could say that, you know what I mean? But take notes. Take notes of what you're feeling. You know what I mean? And also statistics. You know, these digital scales are very useful. You know what I mean? They could give you a standard. You know, you don't always have to go for a number, a weight, a body fat percentage, none of that. But you could see the consistency and what fits best. You know what I mean? All right. Okay. Yeah, Asiatic God mathematics. Yeah, you gotta get the training. Okay. It seems like I have a lot of discipline. Yeah, those that know me know. Yeah. Why, Prince? You said, did you teach your Earth knowledge herself, or did she have it before she met you? I don't have an Earth. Okay. The the women that have become the mothers of my children, I taught this knowledge itself to. Okay. Whether they keep it or not after our relationship has ended, I don't know. But I know that I try to keep them or deal with them as civilly as possible. Um, but yeah, I didn't deal with any woman that had knowledge of self. So the mothers of my children, they didn't have knowledge of self. I gave it to them. So whatever they did with it, who the hell knows what they're doing with it now, though. You know what I mean? But they definitely had to be civilized you know, before I brought life to them. You know what I mean? But yeah, they didn't have knowledge. Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Things change. Things change in a matter of a year. Yeah. I've only been single for over a year, so you would have seen the mother of my children, in other videos and stuff, or definitely videos with my daughter though. On this home page, I have a build with my little girl in the stroller when she was real little, you know. And the thing is, kung fu is a way of life of discipline, though. But I never, to me, those worlds, this knowledge of self and kung fu are really united because I learned martial arts because of the gods, and they brought me to Seagung Bobby Whitaker, and all his students were the gods. You know what I mean? I am a fan of Wonder Woman, but that's actually my sister's cups. You know what I mean? They just happen to be there. You know what I mean? Yeah, but that's not mine. Yeah, I'm more of a Spider-Man guy. You know, more of a Spider-Man guy. But when it comes to comic books or like comic movies and all that, I watch all that stuff though. You know, I find fun in all that stuff. I watch all the Wonder Woman stuff, all that. You know what I mean? Asiatic, you said I don't got a lot of discipline. I'm either binging my lessons 24/7 or lackadaisical periodically. Well, you got to figure that out though. So I think the first problem, if I could psychoanalyze you just of one comment, is that you've already described yourself. See? So if you've already described yourself, then now you have to see that you can actually define yourself. See? We describe ourselves so easily though. You find out that it could be just as easy to define ourselves. See? I I don't spend time describing my the way I am. I do spend lots of time in words to myself defining how I ought to be. You know what I mean? And that's what keeps me. That's, like I said, look, my brother's an actor. I'm a very, he suggests all these great things for me to watch, shows to binge on. You know what I mean? Right? So I got access to the Netflix, thanks to the God. I got the Hulu, HBO Max. I have my own collection of digital movies. Amazon Prime. What else the hell is there? Disney Plus for the kids. But really, it's for the kids. You know what I mean? Right? I've seen Mandalorian. I've seen all these things. The WandaVision. I enjoyed all these things. But then there's a discipline to do the things, and like I'll be behind with them. You know what I'm saying? I'll be behind. You know. And there'll be weeks that I could appear to be productive, and then there are weeks where you're not. You know what I mean? But if I appear productive to the world, it's because I'm doing things that no one sees, and then people just see the fruit of those things coming out. You know, the beginning of this month, people saw at least three. What was it? One, two, three interviews I did, an interview I was in, a song I was on, and a book I released. I didn't do those all in March. But I'm constantly doing something. And if I fail, I make sure I do something. You know what I mean? I make goals for everything. You have to define yourself. And when you can't achieve your goal, you have to say, listen, this is not how I'm going to define myself. You know what I mean? It's really important. Doesn't always have to be spurts. It'll be always be easy to build with the intensity. But how well do you build when you don't want to work? When you may feel depressed, or you don't want to do things, or you don't feel good? How well you build in those times will actually define who you really are, and also be a better judge of the massive peak that you'll have when things are good. You know what I mean? If you're at this level when things are good, and you build and you do nothing when things are bad, you'll never reach a higher level when things are good. You know what I mean? You should be going for this level when things are bad. So when things are good, you actually reach a greater peak. And the things that must be done can actually be done when things are not good. Something to work on. Because we're not, you know, We know who we are. We're the true and living God. We're saying that we do things in spurts and things like that, but the sun don't chill, right? Right? The sun don't chill. I think all religious history is hard to validate. Absolutely. You know? Because where Prophet Muhammad was buried is going to be some religious person telling you where it was buried. You know? Yeah, he's yeah, God. That analysis of Neo is you're definitely wilding out. But I see it. LT said we make time and take time for what we choose. Yeah, so don't always choose well. Goodness, I don't know. My documents here, they keep reloading and taking me to the top instead of at the bottom where I'm at. Every time I go back, it refreshes. I have to. It's like an 80-page document. Okay. Yeah, that's Peace Magneto. Yeah, definitely, Magneto. Hey, you're a fan of Magneto? Definitely cross-reference that. The God Raz fresco. His Magneto, series of albums are impeccable. It's great stuff. But I don't know who that is. Vegeta? I don't know that character. Said I'm not an expert. That's yeah, LT, keep it simple. But yeah, that's what it's always referring to. You know. Dragon Ball. Okay, yeah, I've never seen that. Oh, all right. Amir Baraka builds on learning how to share space. Now, although we may not be on the same page, learning to collaborate, work together, even though within different ideologies, science of unity without uniformity at the Gary Convention, Illinois in 72. How you see that? Unity without uniformity. Um, I do agree with it. I do agree with it. Because we have to be united on some level, you know. But because there's a lot of actions that can take place as a people that we don't need full agreements on. You know what I mean? Right? So there has to be some type of unity without uniformity on some level. You know what I'm saying? Even in this nation, you know, I don't agree with everything everybody does, though. It doesn't mean that, you know. Right? I don't know if Allah had a book of life, like a book. I don't know. I don't know. You know, all of his stuff was in his head, so I don't know if I would say he probably didn't. I never heard that from any firstborn, so that's never. I never thought of asking that. You know, because every story I always was told, you know, everything was in his head. He was telling people stuff. He was like going through things, you know, and giving people things by word of mouth. So, you know, I never thought that he even had that, you know. American Gods. I don't think I've ever seen that show. Don't know what that is. Yeah, I've never seen that show. Right. Yeah, he's a God. You're really going nuts here. Magnetal. So, yeah, that's it. Supreme, you said, I see you just interviewed Rome, and next up is General Ship. No, I interviewed Rome and Steel. Steel, I did that already. Yes, that's up. I did Steel for Smith and West, of Smith and Wesson for Classic Storm Radio. So that's, you got to go to Classic Storm Radio to hear their podcast. And Rome Streets is on my show. Okay. Rome, you said Allah, arm, leg, arm, head, adds on to be of a divine, civilized being to manifest its knowledge of 120 to wisdom. Okay. All right. It's complex. Is that a build on, or just a general thought, or, you know? Firstborn, I mean, all the ones that were alive at the time, that first couple of years, there's so many people I met that I don't remember everybody's name. You know what I mean? But the real memories I have are with Firstborn Prince and Firstborn Al Jamal. You know, others I met in passing. You know, so that were alive at the time. So you know, indeed, I enjoyed WandaVision. Very creative, very creative. The infinite satisfaction that definitely was was definitely the inspiration that I heard of too. You know, they definitely were the inspiration for that, from what I heard as well. Al Salam is still. I couldn't say. I couldn't say. I don't know. And then, you know, like I've since this whole quarantine, I've been in such a lab state of mind. I haven't, you know, even when I've gone to the school, I teach this class and I'll be the only one at the school. You know what I mean? So I have to protect it and teach it. You know, see like one or two gods. So yeah, so I couldn't say. I'll have to find out. And honestly, I am not one to try to find everything out in the face on Facebook or anything like that because it's just so annoying to go through all that. And I don't, I don't want to read all that. You know? Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Rome. Okay. I'm up here in Savior's Island, just so you know. But so we could definitely make something for that. All right. Okay, that's peace. Email me. All right. That's right. He was known as Al Jabbar. But I don't remember seeing. I never firstborn prince is Mecca. Okay, that's all. I knew him. Yeah. M. Marte, 26. Lot of crazy things, man. A lot of crazy things, right? Abu Shahid, I think you're referring to. I don't. He's not a firstborn. And you're right about Muhammad, though. There is a tomb. There is a little that, you know. But what I'm saying is like the reality of that man. Like, how do you prove that he did all that? You know what I'm saying? They're saying he did all that. You know, that's what I mean by validate. You know. Ah, Chad, peace. Okay, all right. That's where you coming from, knowledge a lot. Cream City. I forget what Cream City is, so you let me know. I'll be forgetting all these places, man. But I know a lot of gods over the years from Cream City. Ah, yes, Milwaukee. All right. Any questions? Since we were on a wild question hunt today, let me know in this last half hour what kind of questions you might have, so that way we can really, you know, really build, sum it up. Tough question, Chad. I saw it first when I. I'm not sure what history I'm supposed to be given of Abu Shahid. Yeah. Good question. In the 37th degree and the 140, I don't see it answering the question fully. I see the answer in the ninth and 12th degree. How do you see that? A lot of those degrees at the end, though, they don't really answer the question the way you would like. You know what I mean? That's why they're so ripe. So ripe for understanding, right? But why the devil teases the 85 that God is a righteous and unseen being? You know, and the answer is really just an affirmation. You know what I mean? We already were told what the devil was. He's weak and wicked. So we already know he's wicked. So it's kind of redundant to kind of like repeat everything again, but just say what it is, Right. Now, when you say it's in what did you say here? It was, I'm assuming that you're saying the ninth and the 12th degree in the 1 to 40 itself, right? Because that makes sense, right? Because remember, this is all, it's all like a workbook, you know what I mean? So these next questions would really be a supplement to the earlier questions, then the redundancy of them, you know what I mean? The affirmation of them, But yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, Chad, it's really about the youth, you know what I mean? We have to teach them though to what it is to properly categorize, and they're being over intellectualized. So they're over, they're embracing this obsessive cancel culture and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And all you could do is teach, you know what I mean? Define things, you know what I mean? But yeah, that, no such thing as men and women anymore. Yeah, it becomes very difficult. Very difficult. You know? True, yeah. It's it's basically a student's answers to his teachers 120, you know? So it's like oftentimes he's just springboarding and continuing. You know, you gotta look, I kind of read them that way. And when we build with them, that's how we get the most out of it when we see it that way. You know? Yeah, but there's no easy way because people don't really want a culture. They want they want a freedom, and it's almost a very awkward, rigid freedom, where you could be whatever you say you are. And that massive fluidity, you know what I mean? Appreciate that, supreme freedom. That massive fluidity is is going to be the culture, you know? And we're gonna see that crash and burn eventually, you know? Right? A lot of times with the actors, it doesn't mean that they're part of this Illuminati kind of thing, you know. A lot of actors are just taking roles, just trying to get on. You know what I mean? If you think it's hard to be a rapper and blow up without doing coonery, imagine being an actor. It's very difficult. You know what I mean? Some actors make those choices that I necessarily wouldn't advocate. Mother's hip. That's all I heard elders tell me about what Allah said the mothership was. The mother's hip. You know? Yeah. So never. You know. No deep. No, none deeper than that. That shit needs to hurry. Speaking of youth, I'm so scared for them. But you know what? A lot of the situations that are here are because of the youth. Going to a lot of these millennials are our youth. You know what I mean? Like they learned and they didn't get the knowledge, but they learned things and they over intellectualize. And a lot of this stuff is really over intellectualizing and getting lost in their own head. You know what I mean? The exportation of the moon. That sounds crazy, but it's actually a real thing. Documentaries now will talk about the moon being exploded, piece of the earth, and that's why there is synergy between the earth and the moon. The moon now is known to have water in it, and that causes for the pull, and it's part of the pull that it has on the water, you know. Um, yeah, you know. I think for us, what would help is older people is that the way we define what a man and a woman is, though, is that we learn how to actually define it in as we get even more scientific, we get even more ready to show and prove. You know what I mean? That's really, like we just have to find new ways to show and prove existence itself. I mean, it sounds crazy. It sounds like we're having to go backwards to go forward. You know what I mean? So, it's a lot of work. You know? Word 60 said, I find I have a stutter in my understanding about two wisdom being the earth and also the moon. Please build on that a little bit. My youngest daughter I named Luna Luce, Moonlight. Um the way some people teach it is that the moon is the black woman without a seed and then becomes the earth. The way I see it is this, though, is that she has the nature of the earth and also the nature of the moon. You know what I mean? And both of those things are crucial to our survival. You know what I mean? The moon being part of the earth, right? It's almost like they're just like, just like the black woman, she's naturally responsible for things outside, for all things outside of herself. You know what I mean? Her family, all these things. You know what I mean? Nature itself. You know what I mean? And it's just different aspects. You know what I mean? When people say two being wisdom, being, that just has to do with man, woman, and child. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and stuff. It's just really a way to put the math in there. You know what I mean? Right? That's peace, Raja. Definitely peace. Right? But I don't think there's any I don't think there's any clash whether people say wisdom is the moon or wisdom is the earth. You know what I mean? It just has to do the order of family. You know what I mean? Right? It's the order of family. You know, and I don't like the idea. Obviously, from what I said, I don't like the moon is such a negative word. You know what I mean? A lot of them do that identify as Earths have children. You know what I mean? But I don't see it that way. I think if the black woman has knowledge of self and stuff like that, um, I think she has the right to call herself the Earth. You know what I mean? And if she personally values that and sees that she that one ought to have children to be the Earth and sees herself as one of the moons and wants to make that distinction in that way, I see that too. Or if a god has a woman that has knowledge of self, and they both come to that insight that that's how they present themselves, then I see that too, because they see it as a goal what I mean? Right? One of the greatest builders in the nation, one of the most important elders in my life was Wise Jamel, and he didn't have any children. You know what I mean? I don't know if he had decided. I think it just happened with his life, and he certainly was part of the nation because it's not about having a children, it's what you do for the world, you know, and what you do particularly for the children. So a person like Wise Jamel remembered imperfection. He loved children. He loved the children. You know what I mean? So I don't, I'm saying I don't see it any other kind of way. You know. As far as Jarrell, as far as renewing the history every 25,000 years, how should I account for the relativity of time with it also being considered a social construct? I don't see time as a social construct. I see time as something that is very real, and it's a mathematical measure that we created. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that fluctuates. You know what I mean? So it's how you see it. You know what I mean? It's just a way to document things. So because you couldn't have a history if you didn't have some measure of time. So right. So you would want to construct it anyway. And the time is obviously with the relativity of time, right? The theory of relativity and the that time is not the same for every individual, right? Um, that's all real. That's all relative in the situation. You know what I mean? We are creating our world and we are deciding how that time goes. You know what I mean? So that renewing of history, um, you find your place in it. But it has to be shown and proven. It has to be right and exact. Yeah. Yeah, Save it does say that. Who am I to say anything more useful than that? Right? The thing is the fluctuations own they exist and they don't exist though, because as it goes along, it becomes concrete. The fluctuations are happening as you're living it. You know what I mean? Once they already set, then they're already set. You know what I mean? I understand the 78 trillion as God building in 3 dimensions. Any thoughts on that? What do you mean by 3 dimensions? No, no. I actually, I've been doing this since last year because of the pandemic, and when I have gone back to the school, it's just been crazy because I actually had quarantines I was forced into and everything like that last year. And then this year it was just so awkward to go in there, and students were uncomfortable, so that's why I've spent these winter months here doing it, just streaming. But I will be back in the school and I will continue to stream. you know that synergy will be there whether students are in the classroom or here online. uh yeah, that's an interesting. I understand that 78 trillion is God building in 3 dimensions. Any thoughts on that? I hadn't really thought about that, you know what I mean? Because here's the thing, right? Yeah. Third, just the coming into existence as we see and know it to be, and further, right? Um, all the time is relative, but then it becomes real to you. And that's really why the time fluctuates, right? It's really that nothing really exists until you are there to realize it. You know what I mean? Once you start realizing it though, then all of this is exist and all of it is real, and all of it is able to be approached, able to be understood, able to be grasped in its context. But it's a context that you make, you know? Nice prodigy bars there. Uh, Not so good parts that you unfortunately lived out. Boy, I don't know. You said the 28 to the 36 degree and the one to 36. I mean, I need some context of how you would live that out, like personally, but you know, um, in some ways, we all have been given an into orientation of some type. You know what I mean? Um, we all like the devil because the devil gave us nothing. You know what I mean? They're all instances in our own head. You know what I mean? Where we had expectations that didn't. So yeah. So probably a whole bunch of them. You know what I mean? Waiting for that mystery god, kicked out of doors, right? Right? How many hells, right? I mean, if I go through the hells of my life, right, I could put myself in a lot of degrees, and either through metaphor or just like taking them literally because and pulling them out of context or leaving them in context. You know what I mean? I mean, these degrees are about not having a knowledge of self and the quest to them, and the strategies are always the goals are the same for the devil. You know what I mean? Just the means are different. So a lot of things that we suffer, we're gonna see them. We're gonna see them in there. You know what I mean? Right? It's a good question though. You know? Yeah. I'm trying to think about a book I was reading about time. You know what? That's what it was. I read this book. I'm reading books to add on to the beginner book list to get even easier books about the sciences and things like that that I can actually share. Because I have a lot of out of print books and stuff on the beginner book list, which makes it to me out of date. You know, well, what's the point if you can't even find the damn thing? You know? Um, see if I can find my list of books I've read. Short, very potent book. Let's see what it's called. Yeah, 7 Brief Lessons on Physics. You know, and they had some interesting thoughts about time and everything like that. I thought it was so, because sometimes we make it so difficult. You know what I mean? This idea of time being in flux or flexible and stuff like that. You know, the truth is that every time you have made a decision, you have made it more concrete. You know, uh, because Allah is one and all, so you wouldn't really pluralize that. You know what I mean? It wouldn't even be correct in English. You know, Allah means one and all, so it means one in all the gods. So you wouldn't pluralize it, so it'd be awkward to say. You know, sons and nerds. Yeah, we were always called the gods. You know what I mean? That's good digging serious. You know, not everybody. You know, I see that. Yeah, that's definitely gonna happen. Yeah, I hear that. I mean, look, I'm a music journalist in the industry though, so it's probably no part of being screwed or blood sucked that I don't know no parts of. You know what I mean? That's it's you know it's part of my history. You know, it's the history in the trenches. You know, that's why we know the lessons. They continue, and sometimes you don't just because you have the degrees doesn't let you avoid them. It really just means that you just get to identify them quicker. And sometimes even in identification, though, you either go straight in and fight it or you avoid it. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't avoid it. You know what I mean? So, you know, but with that said, I'm going to put the email at the end of this session. You know, check for the column. I usually write a weekly column for this class. I haven't in the last 2 weeks only because I thought that what I had written and jotted down, I didn't think it was sufficient. I didn't like it, so I didn't share it. You know, it's just that simple. So, um, if something I find useful, then I will share it. You know what I mean? If I find it to be good enough, you know. But if not, so why would I? You know, I don't want to waste your time. And sometimes too, there's so many things I've said in the columns. You could read through back through all the columns. Sometimes they can be redundant. I don't want to be redundant either. So, you know. All right. So with that said, great questions. You guys have me on my toes. And I appreciate you as well, 793rd. All right. So peace to you all. Let's build. Contact me. And as always, I always do my best to build. You know what I mean? All right. Peace.